Alright guys, today I'm gonna be telling you guys about spring fishing, tips for spring fishing and lures to use. Alright, so let's get started by telling you just a little about bass in spring. So let's go say matters where you live, but here in Ohio, around April-ish, about April, the ponds will start unfreezing, and the temperatures will get around in the water around 40 to like 30 degrees, and that's not the really spring fishing that I really like to do. If I'm fishing that early, I'm gonna use basically all I use if it's that cold. I like to use a rattle trap. So that's what I use for really early spring, really early. So I'm gonna tell you, in winter the bass are gonna be really deep. You get into the warmest place they can find, and really they're very lazy. It's very hard to catch them in winter. Like say ice fishing here, it's really extraordinary if you catch a bass ice fishing. It's really something cool. And if you are fishing in winter, somehow you're gonna want to use a slower technique. So let's not say about winter. That'll be another video. But because spring's coming up, I want to cover some stuff for spring fishing. So bass will come shallow during spring. They'll get to the warm area. They'll get ready to spawn in shallow areas, anywhere from 15 feet or less. So yeah, to get to these fish, because the bass are going to be trying to spawn, laying their eggs, so yeah, you're going to want to start off with, in spring, you can really use any bait as long as you can fish it the right way. But let's start off with the easiest way to fish, soft plastics. So like Senkos, you have your Senkos, you can go any size, 3, 7, 6. I'd recommend a bigger worm, because the bass are going to have a bigger appetite, and if they see something bigger, they're more likely to strike it. So yeah. This is probably like a 5-inch, maybe, U-tailed worm, Texas rigged. That's how you want to do it. And to get into those weeds, you can use bullet weight, and that works too. So that's one method. That's a good method. It's all preference, honestly, in spring, because the bass will most likely bite or eat anything. Second is another very effective way is spinner baits. This is a Colorado bladed spinnerbait. It has a lot of disturbance in the water, a lot of movement. This is a really good way to find your fish. I start off with a spinnerbait because I like to see where the fish are, how they're biting, if they like it slow, fast. If they're slow, I'll really focus on getting the bite. Then I'll switch to a Texas rigged Senko U-tail, mostly Senko U-tailed worm, anything soft plastic that I can really work on with, or even a jig. I'll get to that later. So spinnerbaits is a good way to figure out where the fish are, how they're biting, and how aggressive they are. A lot of these fish will just bite this spinnerbait because they just find it annoying and they want to kill it. So that's a really effective way of fishing a spinnerbait. And you know the bass are not eating it, they just want to kill it. Alright, this one has to be my absolute favorite way of fishing in any season, and especially in spring. If you have your lakes like with crawdads, you're gonna wanna go with a jig and a jig trailer, or they like to call them a jig and pig. So yeah. So a jig can be used to fish. You can flip a jig, you can swim a jig, and you can throw it in heavy cover like lily pads, mats of basically weeds. Good thing about a jig is that it resembles a crawdad, and you can fish it by bouncing it off the bottom of the lake. And this is a very effective way of fishing in spring. You get a lot of bites and big bites. And this weed guard right here keeps the weeds away, so none of will get on your hook. And don't worry, this does not affect any of your strikes. The bass will push this down and get the hook, so you're good for that. If you feel like you don't have enough confidence in fishing this is a very, very effective bait, and you will get a lot of hookups with them. Alright, another way of fishing early spring, and also a very effective way, is crankbaits. In spring, I like to use a crawdad colored crankbait, but unfortunately I lost both of my crawdad colored crankbaits to smallmouth bass, and because I was using 6-pound line, and because I wanted to get it down all the way to them, and yeah, they broke it off. So I have to get more crankbaits in a crawdad color. But this right here is a KVD, I think a 1.5 crankbait. Very effective during spring. I have this chartreuse color, which is really good in spring and anytime, honestly, in summer. And just good for muddy water, because up in Ohio, where I fish, water's usually muddy. A lot of lakes are muddy, so go with these. You can fish them by parallel to the bank, and you can fish, say you have a 10 foot, or let's say more like a 5 foot of water, and you have a 6 foot diving crankbait. What this is gonna do, and this part of the crankbait broke, I couldn't find the other piece to glue it back on, but what you're gonna do, so say this is 6 foot down here, the crankbait, or say 5 foot, the crankbait dives 6 foot with say 10-pound fluorocarbon. So the crankbait is gonna be hitting the ground and causing the bass to like give it more attention, I guess. Once it hits the ground, it looks like a very aggressive, especially if it hits a stump or a rock, it will trigger a strike most likely. So that's the way you can fish a crankbait. Another way a lot of anglers like to use, personally I'm not much of a jerkbait guy. This is a jerkbait. This is not a spook or whatever. It's not walking the dog type of lure. It does look like one, but this is a jerkbait, and it does not have the lip, I guess what you call it. But a jerkbait is a good lure. I personally don't have much experience with the jerkbait, but if you do, that's good. Probably need to get out and do more jerkbait fishing. I only have a couple jerkbaits. So yeah, jerkbait's really good too. So these are all great ways on catching fish in spring. Spring is a time where most fish will bite anything. They're not very picky. They just want to eat, and that's a good way of getting into the sport. If you have someone that you want to get into fishing, or if you're yourself getting into fishing, you want to go in spring. On a bad day, you'll catch 20 bass if you're out for 5 hours on a bad day. So, or a bad day, more like 30, 40, honestly. And it all matters where you're fishing, though. So, yeah, go out and just have fun, honestly. Try different things, boost your confidence. That's one of the most important things in fishing, is having confidence with various lures. Personally, I have a lot of confidence in jigs, spinnerbaits, and just everything but that. Crankbait. Not very good at crankbaits. I'm not saying that I'm not good, I just never really have fished crankbaits. So, hopefully you guys learned some stuff from this video. If not, I'm sorry. So yeah, go out and have fun. See you guys. Oh, and one more thing. Bass spawn in 55 to 63 degree water temperatures, and that's when they're gonna be striking anything that's in their face because they want to protect their precious babies. All right, see you guys.